Welcome to the show, everyone. It's the Crypto Lark. Today, I got to sit down with Mike from ARK. Mike, welcome.
Well, thank you. Very good to see you. Enjoy being on the show.
Absolute pleasure to have you here. Now, ARK is a super exciting project, and I know a lot of people out there are really excited in the community about what ARK's doing. But I also want to mention to everyone, make sure you stick around to the end of the interview because we also have another special guest about an upcoming ARK project that we're going to be talking to in the second half of the interview. But before we get into that, Mike, anyone who hasn't heard about ARK, can you give us the short version? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, ARK is a very lean, high-performance blockchain. It uses delegated proof of stake. So it takes a few thousand watts of power to run the blockchain instead of gigawatts, unlike a proof of work. So it also has 8-second block times, so that transactions clear within a very short amount of time. It is run by 51 delegates, and these delegates are chosen by voting with the ARK that they hold in their wallets. Unlike other proof of stake or delegated proof of stake coins, we limit it to one ARK equals one vote for one delegate instead of voting. So this means we've gotten rid of the multiple voting, which sometimes it leads to these kind of voting cartels. So we've gotten rid of that. So we've ended up with a very good group of delegates that are active in the community. They also work on code, helping with the ARK community and explaining and telling people about ARK instead of just securing the blockchain. So we've also hired a lot of our team developers, team members out of the community and the delegate pool.
Oh, that's really interesting. So they're not just securing the network, they're actually people who are super involved in the community and actually developing and joining the team. That's pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, it's like you go to our Slack and Reddit and you actually get to talk to the people that are securing the blockchain. It's like when you think about how many miners do you actually get to talk to with the other blockchains, but in our case, they're actively involved in the community and they help questions when people have questions like newcomers, how to do a spend, how to work the wallet, or more advanced like developers. Often they have technical questions when they want to create a clone of ARK, how to set it up and get it running. So they've been really invaluable in providing technical support to newcomers. And yeah, we have a very good community that way. Well over 20,000 members in the Slack.
Wow.
In the Reddit, on Twitter, we have like over 1,200 followers on Steemit. So
that's pretty good. It's great to see the community responding to it. And of course, in cryptocurrency, it's all about community. And if you have a great community, you have a great project usually as well. Now, on your website, you guys say point, click, blockchain. Is it really that easy?
Very close, yes. And we haven't really finished the graphical interface. But as it is, you can create the blockchain within 20 minutes. We've got a lot of exposure and testing with the hackathons, which we'll be talking about later. But that's how we've been able to iterate and see that people actually can point, click, and blockchain and set it up on a server. So,
and now that point, click blockchain, that'll be a side chain to the ARK main chain.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a bridge chain, similar to a side chain in that it can exchange data with the main chain. You give people the seed server, the IP address, and they can add it to the ARK wallet, so it shows up as another network. So that way, instead of having to install a separate wallet for every different ARK chain, you just need the ARK wallet itself, and you can add as many of the forked chains as you want. To just switch. You click switch networks and it chooses which chain you want to work with and see your accounts.
Cool.
And now we have a Ledger Nano interface with the wallet. So instead of having to use passphrases, you have the option with Ledger Nano that you have a hardware key that secures your funds with a PIN code and replaces the passphrases. you can create as many addresses as you want.
Now, if I've got the ledger, how does that affect, if I'm a delegate, does that affect me at all, or is it still possible for me to be a delegate and have all my ARC locked up through the ledger? Is that still something that can be done, or do I have to have an open wallet to be running the network?
No, that's one of the advantages of delegated proof of stake is you don't have to have a wallet open for voting and staking. That's all. Only the delegates themselves need to stay running, that they share the chain, and then many also run relay nodes, which support the network. Kind of similar to Bitcoin has Bitcoin full nodes, which support the network but don't do mining, but process transactions. Similarly, with ARC, we have these relay nodes, as well as the delegates that create the blocks. So yeah, when you vote for it, that's stored in the blockchain, all your voting. And then you can turn the wallet off, shut it down, shut your computer down, and then the delegate still keeps that vote. And as long as he has that votes and enough other votes, then he gets to stay in the top 51 and keep forging.
Very cool. Now, as far as the blockchain that I can create on ARC, how customizable is that? Or is it basically a clone copy of the ARC main chain, or can I mess around with it a little bit? Can I make it a proof of work? Can I make it, I don't know, privacy coin or anything like that? Or am I basically inheriting the characteristics from the main chain?
By default, when you run the script, it creates a clone of ARC. You can configure things in it. You can select the number of delegates that you want. So if you wanted to run it as a permissioned enterprise chain instead of an open permissionless chain, you can do that. Because delegated proof of stake is actually very close to a permissioned ledger, except with DPoS, you're voting with permission. It's like when you set up the chain, you would control the voting to select your delegates. If you wanted to use it for an enterprise or corporate use, you can set the transaction fees to whatever you like. You can even have zero transaction, almost zero. You have a little bit for spam prevention, but you can also select other parameters as well. What your initial distribution is that you want. You could set the initial distribution to 0 and just use the forging rewards to add tokens, or you can set it up to 1 billion. It defaults to 100 million. So
it's a good number.
Right. Yeah, that seems to be pretty popular with new coins. But yeah, if you think you'll need 1 billion tokens, you can do that. Or if you only need 10,000, you can do that as well.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. I want to dig in next to smart bridges, because this is one of the really exciting things about ARC. So can you just break down a little bit more for us what smart bridges are and how they're going to be operating?
Okay, so currently we have ACES, which is the ARC Contract Execution Service, and that bridges to other chains that are not ARC. And the advantage of doing it with ACES is that the other chain doesn't have to add any code to be bridged. It runs instead through a relay node, which runs a copy of the other coin's blockchain as well as ARC, and then it executes transfers. So it receives ARC and then sends it out as Ethereum or Bitcoin or whatever coin happens to be bridged. And the other way of bridging is using the vendor field, a text field that's included in transactions. So the bridge chains can write data to the ARC main chain, and then they can also look for data from other addresses, other chains. So instead of having it directly pegged with transactions for security, we're just using the main chain. It's more like TCP/IP and of the internet, that you could think of transactions are similar to data packets, and they receive and transmit data to other chains that know to watch for that data field.
That is really cool stuff. I mean, being able to communicate across blockchains is going to be the big thing moving the whole crypto arena forward. So that's really cool that you guys have come up with a great solution for it. Now, as far as the blockchains, though, that ARK can talk to, I mean, obviously you mentioned Ethereum and Bitcoin, but what about some of the new and upcoming blockchains? Are there any standards that they need to adhere to, or whatever it might be, in order for ARK to be able to talk to them, or is it pretty blockchain agnostic in that sense?
Yeah, with ASIS, that's totally blockchain agnostic. So, because that with ASIS, since we're running both chains as full nodes on an ASIS relay, then it couples the two. It does the transactions internally. So, same with now for the more advanced smart bridge, that's where they would need to add a code snippet to be able to read and write. We have all kinds of APIs, though, for many different languages. So these APIs are written, for instance, Go, .NET, C++, C, Python. Python is turning out to be very popular to interact with the blockchain. So these APIs can be used to do transactions, read data, extract other information from the blockchain.
Very cool. And now, as far as the cross chains going, can I just transfer value, or can we have actual cross chain smart contracts via ARK as well?
So in this case, with ASIS, you can actually run a smart contract on Ethereum, for instance, from ARK. So it's not just transfers of value, but you can actually launch a smart contract from it.
That's awesome. Great. I love it. I love the whole idea. Now, who do you see as being your biggest, perhaps, competitors, or if not competitors, who do you see as being people that you would really like to work with to bring, I guess, blockchain interoperability forward?
Right, so we're open to partnerships with anyone. That's the idea, because we are tying different blockchains together, is we're really for interoperability. So there's a lot of great projects out there, and especially like the proof of resource type coins, where, for instance, Golem, storage, you have Filecoin, Saya, where you're offering resources that give value to the token. So we have one ARK clone called Persona. That's a blockchain ID system, so that it's be using decentralized storage, like IPFS, to store the actual physical documents that go along with an ID on this ARK-based blockchain. Then that will be available to other bridge chains as well to use. And what it does, it gives the owner of that ID control over what data is shared with what person. So if he's opening a bank account, then he would share a lot of the ID data, but if he's only using it to go into a nightclub, he'd only need to share his age and nothing else, because they don't need anything but a verified age. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind Persona. That'll enable blockchain voting as well. It solves the civil problem that you already have a verified ID on the blockchain that can be used with another bridge chain for one person, one vote type applications.
Very cool. I like it. I like it. Now, recently there has been a partnership with a company called MCBG Conseil, a French partnership there. What are they bringing to the table for ARK?
Okay, they are helping us in France, which is where we're headquartered, with an SCIC, a new type of cooperative entity. And so they are helping to spread awareness of ARK within France. They handled, run our first anniversary conference, ARKCon, which was in France, and did a lot of the press and arranged the conferences, speakers. So they've been very helpful in that regard.
Awesome.
Explaining what ARK is and how it can benefit the public.
Now, one thing that really speaks to the community focus for me with ARK is the amount of hackathons that you guys are involved in. You're very active in the whole hackathon community. You're constantly out there. You're actually sponsoring the Princeton Hackathon, if I'm not mistaken. So what has been the response from young developers, and what are you guys kind of getting the feel for with people and ARC and at the hackathons?
It's been a great opportunity. They're very enjoyable to attend. We've had a great team that has been providing on-site support. It's also been very beneficial to us because as we iterate with these real-time use of ARC, we see where there are problems or lack of documentation and implementing, debugging the documentation and the code. So as we do each hackathon, it runs more and more smoothly. We've been getting a lot of teams that have come and done specific blockchain projects based on ARC. And so yeah, we just sponsored Hackathon a couple of weeks ago, and then we just finished up with the University of Maryland. We're sponsoring another hackathon specifically for blockchain at the University of Delaware on May 5th and 6th. So if any of your audience would like to compete in a hackathon and see how they work, this is a great way to start. And they're having a series of 4 workshops during April, streaming as well as at the University of Delaware on blockchain. First, an introduction to blockchain, then Ethereum, how to write smart contracts. And they're having one specifically on how to clone ARC and set up your own blockchain. So yeah, the first 2 have already taken place, but you can still do the last 2. Their website is blockhack, blockhack.de, as in Delaware, dog echo. And there's more information, and even if you can't make it to the hackathon, the workshops themselves should be very worthwhile.
Very cool.
Prizes for blockchain developers as well as the on-site support. And we also do workshops at these hackathons where we present ARC and explain how to use it to these developers. Yeah, we've been very gratified to see these brand new developers immediately take to ARC and get it running and build a project on it all within 24 to 36 hours.
That's awesome. I think it's just it creates such community and of course such interest in ARC, but it's just amazing you guys are out there being involved in this, giving people education, teaching people about blockchain, how to use blockchain, how to actually get a project up and running within a day. And hey, here you go. Now you've got a project running on blockchain. Look at that. I think that's a really powerful message to be bringing to that young generation who are so interested and are so hungry for that knowledge already. So it's just awesome.
Oh, and I'm amazed at the quality of the projects we're seeing out of this too. And so, yeah, we have a list of the projects. They're open source code, so the code is posted for anyone to be able to come along and use it or adapt it for their own needs as well. We just had one. It was a very interesting peer-to-peer lending application called ACRED that we built on ARC. The other interesting thing, too, is often when people talk about smart contracts, you see you don't have to use Solidity or run a virtual machine, that you can actually write the code and use the APIs on the servers that you're running ARC on. So it's also, it shows other ways to actually build intelligence and smart contracts onto your application on top of ARC.
Very cool. Now, I want to switch over now. We've got a very exciting guest here hiding in the sidelines, and that's going to be one of your new projects that's coming up on ARC. Can you give us perhaps an introduction to Dan, then we can discuss a little bit about that project?
Yes, it's Dan Trezor. He's opening the these maker spaces. They're kind of community workshops where you can have memberships use the equipment. And so what's exciting is he's bringing crypto. So what we really want to see is things that give value to crypto that you can spend it on. And this is a case where a real world business with machinery and equipment and chock full of entrepreneurs using this make token, which is based on ARC.
That's cool. That's cool. Dan, do you want to give us a few more details about what all of this means and what can I come and get? What can I use the token for?
So you're going to be able to use the token for everything from your membership at the makerspace to your DeWalt drill that you want to buy, to your materials, to your office space, along with target marketing, legal, and additional services, both for you personally or for your small business.
My brother is going to love this.
He
loves crypto and he works in construction, so.
So the other aspect of it is that even if we don't have a makerspace near you, you can still use it to buy materials and get it shipped directly to you.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. And so how many of these maker spaces are there where I can go and, I guess, spend, I kind of spend ARC or the maker token?
So it'll start off with the Make coin.
Mm-hmm.
So Maker's ARC, as far as you'll be able to use that to purchase the goods. And right now we currently have our working platform in San Francisco, but we are working to expand that platform not only with our own locations, but also partner maker spaces. That is part of opening up our vendor network to other maker spaces if they will use the Maker's ARC as well in their system.
Very cool. And so if I come and get a drill or a chainsaw, for example, can I just borrow that essentially using the tokens as an escrow or something like that and then return it later? Or is it just a purchase and then I take it away?
So from the membership standpoint, you can use the Maker's ARC to buy a membership, even a day pass to the space, use all of our tools available, whether that be a water jet, a laser, that DeWalt drill, or anything else that we have. But then from the purchase standpoint, you would use it to buy a drill and then take the drill home.
Okay, very cool. So I've got access to this, essentially these workshops where it's kind of a collaborative workshop space via my membership through the tokens. And if I want to purchase something, I can also do that.
That is correct.
Very, very cool. So Mike, I guess back over to you. What got you guys at ARC so excited about bringing this project in?
Well, yeah, a really big thing is, like I mentioned earlier, is that it represents physical products and services that can be purchased with crypto. And also there's some really interesting plans to take what used to be like just a regular kind of a maker space to whole new levels for incubation and entrepreneurship that we'll be able to do a lot more with it. It's for crypto, it's also a way to get farther down the supply chain. We're starting at the top, but with the equipment here and the supplies, that instead of having, you'll be able to go farther before you have to exchange into fiat in order to produce something. So
Very
the more
cool.
facilities, the more materials that are available for purchasing crypto, then the less need there is to exchange out into fiat. Because ideally, I think that's what we all want.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I've been having conversations with people about, well, if you could receive your paycheck in Bitcoin, would you do it? Right? And so a lot of the response has been, well, yeah, maybe, but I can't spend it anywhere. I can't buy groceries. I can't pay my bills. I can't buy tools or lumber or any of these things. And so to actually see that real world implementation gives it a very powerful edge, because now if I'm a construction worker, this is one more thing that I can spend crypto on and not have to cash out fiat.
Right, exactly. We want the means of production to be available. You know, it's growing for food and or utilities, electrical power generation, production facilities like we have here, manufacturing, can all be paid in crypto. So that's Andreas Antonopoulos' vision, is that you'll have thousands, many tens of thousands of specialized tokens and chains that are all interconnected. And the ideal is that we want a wallet, say that you see everything prices in your home currency, your currency of choice, but the vendor, he sets the prices in his currency. And So you never even see any kind of a transaction or an exchange. That makes it very seamless and easy to use.
Yeah, I agree with the vision. We're moving towards that multi-token, multi-blockchain world where connectivity is going to be very important, which of course makes projects like Arc so gosh darn important, that you're going to be able to talk to these other blockchains and of course exchange value, data, and of course functionality across blockchain. Now, Dan, back to you for a quick second. What has been the response from the community as far as actually getting on board the idea of using tokens to access the space? Are people kind of going, I don't know, that's a little bit weird, I'm not really familiar with it? Or are people going, oh my gosh, cryptocurrencies and real world stuff, this is awesome?
And we're seeing a lot of excitement already, and also with the fact that we're incorporating a show where you actually will submit your business idea to us, and we're incorporating the cryptocurrency into that show, both in how you will get funded, as well as how people participate within your startup.
Very cool. So it's kind of almost some kind of crowdfunding edge there.
Well, very much it's from a use standpoint. So it's not, I wouldn't quite call it crowdfunding, but it is very similar.
Very, very cool. And I've noticed, by the way, I'm seeing the reflection. Are you guys at the makerspace now?
We're actually at a makerspace right now in San Francisco. We're looking at our machine shop and metal fabrication area right now.
Very, very cool. I like it. So you guys can see in the background there what's actually going on in the space and the reflection. So is that the reflection? Or is that straight through into the factory floor?
Yeah, it's straight through into it. So we have a great view, bird's eye view of what's going on in the shop every day. So this
there you go.
We have 3 floors. So we're looking into one of the fab floors now. Then we have a 3rd floor where we have our lasers and 3D printing and fabrics, and soon a CNC knife system that people will use for cutting nylons to leather to picture frames.
Very cool. And so is this system operational today? So if I'm in San Francisco, can I come tomorrow and use these tokens to sign up for membership and start using the makerspace, or are we looking at a little bit farther timeline here?
Well, you can't use the tokens today, but you will be very, very soon. Be able to very soon.
Okay, awesome. This is a very interesting project. I love real world use cases for crypto, and of course to see it in partnership with Arc. Excellent stuff, guys. I really, really like it. Now, I think we're going to go ahead and finish up there, guys. I want to thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and discuss, these exciting projects and of course discussing Arc. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. It's been great talking to you.